Welcome. Today I will be paraphrasing, summarizing, and sharing for the October 22nd Al-Anon Daily Readers Courage to Change and a Little Time for Myself. We'll begin with the Serenity Prayer and 3 mindful breaths. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. We'll start off with a little time for myself. October 22nd. I'll just take a moment to get over. The question of the day is, what problem can I solve today by applying a concept? And this reading specifically is about concept 10, which is service responsibility is balanced by carefully defined service authority, and double-headed management is avoided. This passage talks about how this person was put in charge of running a weekly meeting at work, but they had no authority to ensure that people attended. So this person asked their boss to round up everybody, and then this person facilitated the meeting. And that worked, because from that point on, the meetings were very well attended, and this person could do their job freely instead of with the stress of having to try to get everybody to the meeting. So it calls on the wisdom of the 12 steps of service that can help us in our personal and work life. And so what problems can I solve today by applying a concept? And the concepts, there are 12 concepts, and I read concept 10. Service responsibility is balanced by carefully defined service authority, and double-headed management is avoided. So I think of when I was a teacher, I actually had 2 bosses, and it sometimes could be really crazy because I had to report to the director of my department. I was a special education teacher, so I reported to the director of student services on much of my daily work. But then also, I reported to my building principal. So depending on who the principal was and who the director of student services was at the time, sometimes they didn't get along, or they have a lot to do on their own, so sometimes they don't communicate. So it was always a matter of the responsibility seemed to be mine to keep them both informed. And certain administrators were better at communicating with each other than others. And I've been referring back to Concept 10 several times while I was at work, because I would get frustrated with the double-headed management, and I would always look back and say, it is a real problem. Concept 10 even addresses it because it's such a concern and it can cause so many issues. I also think now that I volunteer at the thrift shop, that when too many people are involved, I I I think of concept 10 and I back away because I don't need to be as involved. And if I'm then brought in, then I may say, this is what I think. But whatever happens, happens. It's such a refreshing change for me to be in an atmosphere where my my career and my financial sustenance does not depend on uh, navigating the different levels of management and authority and all those things. Of course, I think all of us have to deal with a certain level of authority in our everyday lives just by living in a society. But what I mean is, I don't know. As I say that, I'm just feeling very grateful for everyone who works full time and is doing their best to do, good solid work and support themselves and support people in their lives. And I just think it's amazing. I did it for a long time, but I don't do it now. And I I can't imagine doing it again. And I'm so relieved that I don't have to. And I am just really grateful to everyone who does. So, what problem can you solve today by applying a concept? I've got to say that honestly, I need to become more aware of the concepts. We read them at our meeting, at my home group meeting, we read it every day. We read the steps, the monthly tradition, and the monthly concept. But I'm not fully 100% like comfortable and well versed in them. So that's a little time for myself. Now we'll move on to Courage to Change. October. I'm in December. That's not right. October 22nd. I'll just take a moment to look it over. This reading is about talking honestly about what we're feeling. And of course, in Al Anon, it's such a blessing to have a safe, anonymous place to do that. So, this particular passage is about someone who, when they finally felt brave enough to speak at a meeting, they kept it very pretty superficial, and they didn't seem to be making as much progress. But when they finally admitted how they really felt, they began to really see growth spiritually, and they began to really make progress. talks about the paradox of self-honesty, because we need others to make progress with that. And that's the beauty of the fellowship in Al-Anon, is that we are all in recovery, we are all working, we are all a work in progress. And so when we are authentic with each other, that's the miracle that I call Al-Anon. And it says that it can be, in today's reminder, it says if we have grown up or if we have experienced an alcoholic environment or a substance abuse environment, for that matter, in my own experience, it may have been helpful to hide our feelings and just doing what we had to do to survive. But now we know that we have other options, and we can listen to our heart and our soul and talk to people who are trustworthy, such as a sponsor, an Al-Anon friend. That's a great reading. And it's really a great reminder, because I find that even though I've been in Al-Anon since 2013, I find that it can be very tempting, or I can do it without even realizing that I'm isolating a little bit. I let a few meetings go by where I don't share, and I guess it depends on the reasons, because I don't have to feel obligated to share, and I do attend a meeting that's pretty big, so a lot of times it's easy not to share because there are people sharing all the time. But for myself, it's helpful for me not to let too many meetings go by without sharing, because I find that things come out of my mouth. I have an idea of what I'm going to say, but things come out of my mouth, and then when I stop sharing, I think, wow, I guess that's true because I said it. And the same is when I'm making these videos. Things come into my head that I hadn't thought of before, and I've solved many problems talking it through with you. So I'm very grateful for that. We'll close out with the Serenity Prayer and 3 mindful breaths. Here we go. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Thank you so much for joining me today. I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Sending you love. Take care.